Okay, good morning. Today we're going to begin our work on writing the introduction of your proposed paper, which topic that you already mentioned in the last lecture. But before we're going to write about it, there's some kind of a review, or there's some kind of a reminder that I want to share at the moment, which is the schedule. Okay, the schedule of our class, which in the first lecture of which in the first lecture I've already mentioned that we're going to have 6 type of evaluation, okay, which is practically part of methods or ways that we can show our effort or our result of our research visually. The first one is a slideshow presentation, which is we're going to have 3 presentations, and then we also going to have a poster presentation that will be on the last part of our class, which is basically act as the final project or as the final exam of scientific communication class. And we also have 2 evaluation on paper writing. The first one is the introduction, okay, only the introduction part, and then the last one is the full paper. Okay, the full paper will be submit on the day when we have that 15 minutes presentation, which is basically on the last part of our schedule. So in terms of the marks, okay, these are the contribution of each assignment. Okay, so from literature review, okay, which is the paper introduction, will contribute to 10% of your final mark, and then the 3, and then after you submit the introduction, we're going to have 3 minutes talk. So we're going to begin your PowerPoint or slideshow presentation, which also contribute to your 10% of your final mark. And then presentation 2, okay, which will last for 10 minutes, which includes the introduction method and also the preliminary result of your or preliminary analysis or preliminary discussion of your final talk. Okay, so that will contribute to 15% of your final mark. And then presentation 3, which is the last presentation, the last oral presentation, which will last for 15 minutes. Which include question and answer session. Okay, usually done in the last part of your talk, and then the final paper, class submission, and then poster presentation, and then class activities. So class activities here is based on our interaction. So for example, when you gave that 1-minute introduction, remember in the beginning of our class, when you talk about yourself and then you comply with the task that the teacher asks you to do, that's part of class activities, including when I'm asking you about something. Okay, when I'm asking you about the title, whether you have it or not, it means that we are interacting in some sessions, and you are replying, and also you're asking questions, etc., and so on. It is part of class activities that that will be included in the final mark. Okay, in the final, so it will contribute to 10% of your final mark. So the biggest contribution obviously is coming out from the third presentation and from the poster presentation. Okay, from the poster presentation and from the oral presentation, because the poster presentation will be act like your final project or your final exam, whilst the presentation 3, okay, your third presentation will be just like your midterm exam. Okay, even though the activities for presentation 3 will be done usually in the 2 or 3 weeks of our final period. Okay, because each student will have 15 minutes to give their presentations, and we need to allocate some time in our lecture sessions in order for you to have equal opportunity and equal amount of time to give your talk, basically. And so the occasion for the third presentation is not going to be on the usual midterm week that other classes have, but we're going to use the final weeks of our schedule for the third presentations. And also the final class paper and the second presentation is also contributing to 15% of your final marks. So as you can see here, there are no written exam, or because everything will be, there are no written theoretical exam. So you're not going to be questioned about the things that is coming out from the lecture notes, for example, or from the video that I give you regularly each week. But the evaluation is going to be coming out from the activities that you've done, whether it's from the compulsory activities or from the weekly activities that we do in the class, during the class. Okay, so I've already uploaded all of these materials in EduNext. So please, if you have the chance or if you want to have a guidance from today's lecture, don't hesitate to open your EduNext account and see all of the videos and materials that are already prepared on EduNext. Okay, so we already passed this course on choosing your research topic, research management, how to avoid plagiarism, reviewing the scientific literature, and we talk about how to prepare a scientific writings in terms of the writing itself, or in terms of the sections on the scientific paper. And even though I haven't talked about how we present our results in graph, charts, and figures, but I'm supposing that you visit EduNext regularly so that you already access those videos that I prepared, or you see the lecture notes. Okay, you see the lecture notes that I also prepare in EduNext that gave you step-by-step instruction on how you prepare your graph, figure, maps, etc. And so this week we're going to have writers workshop, which is basically a session where you're going to use the session to write your paper, okay, but only for the introduction part, because the introduction part will be submitted on Thursday, okay, the guidance for the deadline or the information about the deadline of the intro paper submission is already given in EduNext. So please look up on your EduNext account. So these 2 days of 5 of the 5th week will be dedicated entirely on your paper writing. Okay, because we prepared the sessions specifically because starting to write is the most difficult process of the entire class, because it's basically the starting point of you producing something, okay, which is going to be related to your final presentation, and also the paper itself. Okay, the full paper itself will be the thing that will be evaluated in the last as your requirement to pass this class. Okay, so so what if you are going to, so what if you prepare to write or to start writing everything at this week? So that is also a good thing. So so even though I'm asking you to submit only the introduction part, but if you already have ideas, or you already have an outline, or you already have a draft or guidelines, or a tentative guidelines that gave you the direction on what things that you want to write, then write it. I mean, don't just waste this opportunity to waste, because if you knew about the thing that you want to write, please write it. Okay, please write it. And in terms, so I guess in the introduction part, okay, we don't have any template yet, okay, for this one, but the maximum page, okay, the maximum page for your introduction part is no longer than 2 pages, okay, because I think in the direction of your full paper, the maximum number of pages for your final paper is only 8, if I'm not mistaken. So your final paper is no longer than 8 pages. Okay, 8. So because we're not going to work on an actual project, okay, we're not going to work on an actual research that will last for 3 months, okay, it is hard, or it is difficult to working on an actual research, okay, that is prepared for scientific communication. So no, we're just going to have that thing that related to your final project, for example, or the thing that you're going, the thing that you are interested in, and then the thing that you choose because of its because the thing that you choose is somehow interest you, okay. So the amount of full paper that you need to submit on the final session of our class is no longer than 8 pages, okay. It should be a short paper instead of a full length research paper, okay, because we only work on a research based on literature review, okay, not an actual research. So it is best for you to write a full paper for scientific communication class. So what I'm asking you to submit on Thursday is obviously on the introduction part, on which a typical introduction is no longer than 2 pages. Okay, no longer than 2 pages. And so next week we begin our discussion on how to prepare slide presentation or slideshow presentation or PowerPoint presentation in accordance with the evaluation on your introduction. Okay, so even though I'm not a master on the English language, but if I found something obvious in terms of the words that you choose, or some verb that you choose to describe the process or describe the story that you develop, I will mark that as things that need to be revised, etc. and so on. Okay, so if I look at your introduction and see there is no logical sequencing or the timeline of your, or the sequence or the order of your introduction is somehow random, then I will ask you to correct it for your final paper, obviously. Okay. So next week we are going to start. In the same time for our evaluation on the paper draft or the introduction of your paper draft, we also start to working on the oral presentation. Okay, how to prepare PowerPoints, what style that you need to choose to present. Is it going to be an argumentative presentation, or is it going to be a narrative presentation, or is it going to be a persuasive or a descriptive one? Okay. And then style and language for presentation, delivery, etc. and so on. So since the first presentation of your topic will be start from the 3 minutes presentation. So after we learn about what to include, what style that you need to choose, and how we deliver our presentation, I'm going to evaluate your 3-minute presentation. Okay, and in that 3 minutes, you're supposed to already knew about the background of your topic, reason why the research is conducted, or why the topic is interesting. Okay, so it's just like when you have that 1-minute introduction of yourself. Now you are going to introduce the audience about the topic that you want to deliver. You can talk about the background, what is the importance of that research, and then what needs to be improved from the current situation, and how this research is going to improve that situation, etc. and so on. So it's it's basically retell. Okay, so it's basically to retell the story that you already have in your paper introduction in terms of oral presentation. Okay, so it's just like that. So after you write the thing, after you write the introduction, or after you write the background story of your proposed talk or proposed topic of your paper, now it's time for you to present them. Okay, so the 3-minute presentation is basically a way for you to talk about the introduction. Okay, but in 3 minutes. Okay, because sometimes you're going to talk more on the method. Okay, and even in your full paper in the future, the methods and also result and perhaps also in analysis is going to be the main part or the main body of your paper. And so the introduction or the introduction part of your paper and also your presentation will only last for 3 minutes and maximum 5. And I think for a 15-minute presentation, if you're talking about the introduction, for example, in 5 minutes, it's going to be too long, okay? Because usually the methods, the result and analysis will take up the majority of your talk instead of your introduction. So introduction part is only to give the audience about the necessary information or the background story or the reason why this topic is given or is described or explained. Okay, so hopefully for 24 students, okay, so for 24, so let me calculate. It should be simple. So 24 students based on the SIX list times 3, we're going to have about 72 minutes, okay? 72 minutes, which theoretically it will be covered in only one meeting. But I guess since we are still having an online session on the 7th week, so we haven't, well, we already done this type of communicating in the first in your self-introduction. Okay, remember when you have that self-introduction, you gave us a direct oral presentation, but most of you sent us the video, right? So, but now for your 3 minutes, it's going to be live. Okay, you don't need to work on you don't need to produce a video. Okay, you don't need to create a video because we're going to do it live, just like when you're having your presentation in a scientific meeting or a presentation for your defense. Okay, so theoretically 72 minutes is going to last or is going to be suitable for a one-day class, but I'm going to divide some of you. Okay, so 12, so we have 24 students enrolled in the class. So I guess we're going to have 12 people going to present on the first session. Okay, so 12 times 3 is going to be 36 minutes total. So 12 people on the first session, and then the last 12 people going to be on the second session. Okay, the first session will be, well, based on the schedule here, the first session will be held on Thursday. Okay, Thursday on October the 4, 5, 6, 7, October the 7th. Okay, October the 7th is the first session of your 3 minutes presentation, and the second session will be held on Tuesday on October the 11th. Okay, so from there, so after you deliver your 3 minutes presentation, we're going to have a small evaluation. Okay, a small evaluation before we moving on to the style. Okay, continuation of how to create presentation slide. Okay, basic slide style. Okay, so on that day, while we also talk about the style of presentation, we also work on the evaluation of your 3 minutes presentation, and then how to create references, import citation, etc. And so after a a week, I guess, a week resting period or a intermission after you're done with your 3 minutes presentation, where you're going to work on your 10-minute presentation that will be held in 25th of October. Okay, so October 25th is going to be your 10 minutes presentation session. And this will be held without a question and answer session. Okay, so please look for this scheduling. Okay, because in this semester we don't have any public holiday for Tuesday and Thursday. I saw the calendar and I guess there is 1 or 2 days of public holiday that we will have in this semester, but not on Tuesday and Thursday. And so we're going to have a full sessions in this semester that we're going to use effectively. And therefore, the 10 minutes presentation will be done or will be start on the 10th week, okay? On the 10th week of this semester. And it will be held in October the 25th and also on October the 29th, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so there is this is okay. So will be only for 2 sessions? I guess not, because 24 students times 10 is going to be 240. So I guess for the 10-minute presentation, you need to prepare more things. Okay, and then keep in mind that this schedule is going to be tentative. So if I'm evaluating your progress and I see that you are not prepared, okay, if workshop needs to be held before we done the presentation, then our presentation schedule for the 10-minute talk will be postponed a little bit so that the number of students that going to present on each section will be a little bit increased, but we're going to manage everyone. Okay, the all 24 students of this class have the same time or the same schedule or the same time period for them to present. Okay, so the tentative schedule for the 10-minute presentation will start at October the 25th. But if workshop needs to be done first, then we're going to allocate the first session, which is on Tuesday of week 10 as our presenters workshop. Okay, so it's just like today's that we're going to allocate for writers workshop. Then in October 25th, if necessary, if it's required, then we're going to have a presenters workshop. Oh, okay. So the presenters workshop based on the schedule will be held. Okay. So let's see. If we at least the order for this one. Okay, the order for the presenters workshop and the presentation session itself is already correct, but we're going to evaluate. Okay, we're going to see whether we need more presenter workshop or we're just going to going straight ahead on October 25th to begin our second presentation. And that means that probably we don't need to have 4 full sessions. Okay, we don't need to allocate week 10 and 11 for presentation because we can have our last session on the 11th week, as our time to evaluate. Okay, so what we are going to do after we done some activities, we're going to evaluate. Okay, we're going to evaluate the things in order for us to improve, basically, so that so that you can have the best performance for your final presentation. And okay, so I think if the number of students in this class only 24, it means that the schedule for this one, okay, the schedule for your presentation should not last too long. Okay, should not last for 3 weeks, for example, here. But we're going to calculate later on for having the correct scheduling later on. Okay, but please keep in mind. Okay, please keep in mind that after you done with your introduction, okay, we are going to have your 3 minutes presentation, and then followed by the 10 minutes presentation, and then moving on to the 15-minute presentation and submission of your final paper. And then during the poster presentation session, or during the discussion, or during the explanation of material for poster presentation, we're going to divide the students into groups, so that the groups will work or start working on the poster presentation. So keep in mind that the full paper and also the full presentation will have the same topic, but not for the poster presentation, because for poster presentation, the topic will be given by me, the lecturer, based on research, based on the current research that is done in the scientific communities, that students on the 4th year need to have the ability to evaluate them, and then present, and then talk about them in a poster. Okay, so for the poster presentation will be done on the day of your final exam. Okay, so poster presentation will be given in the video format. Okay, in the video format, but you need also to give us the poster itself. Okay, you need to submit us the poster and also the video of your presentation. But for poster presentation, I guess there will be no question and answer session. Okay, because question and answer session will be done only on the 15-minute presentation. Well, normally, if we have an offline meeting, okay, I don't know whether we're going to have an offline meeting on December, because the news of hybrid or offline meeting for this semester is kind of vague at the moment. So so the current format for your poster presentation will be done online, so that you need to produce a video of your poster presentation. However, if there is a improvement of condition, or if there is a news from ITB that tells students to come back to campus in a controlled manner, okay, then probably we're going to have an offline poster presentation in the finals period. So your final exam period in this semester will be held, I guess, in December. Okay, and I think in December, ITB is going to start their offline sessions. So probably we're going to have an offline poster presentation, but we're still waiting for the exact information or confirmation from ITB itself. Okay, but please keep in mind that this schedule is still tentative, but the outline is relatively fixed. So after we talk about the standard for scientific paper, and then how to write scientific words, sentences, paragraph, and then presenting numerical data construction, we are moving on to the writers workshop, and then evaluating the introduction of your paper, and then we start talking about how you prepare an oral presentation, how to deliver them, and then how to choose styles of your presentation, how to engage people, etc., and so on, and then how to give proper citation on your presentation, etc., and so on. And then we move on to the 10 minutes presentation, and then after we're done with the 10-minute presentation, we discuss or talk about how to prepare poster presentation and final presentation, submission of final paper, and submission of the presentation of poster. Okay, so at this point, is there any question from students regarding our schedule? I hope that's clear. Okay, so now you are working on your first major assignment, which is the literature review or writing your paper introduction. And then next week, we're going to talk about how to create a PowerPoint presentation or how to deliver oral presentation, which in the next week or the next 2 weeks from today, we are going to start our 3 minutes talk, which is also part of your major assignment. Okay. Okay. If there are no questions from the students, I'm just going to end our reminder here and moving on to the second slideshow that I prepared as part of our workshop today. Okay, so the things that you need to consider, or the thing that you need to remind when you write your introduction, please obey the rules that you already knew from elementary school up until the I guess the last time when you have an English class. I guess it was in the first year of TPB, right? So please remember all the things that you knew from elementary school to TPB, okay? Because we're not because scientific writing, it is not an oral day-to-day talk. Okay, so it is not a daily communication, or it is not a daily conversations which we could speak informally. Okay, so keep in mind that keep in mind that scientific paper is a formal paper. It's a formal documents that you write in terms of scientific findings or in terms of scientific founding or scientific observation from a certain research or from a certain literature review. So obeying the proper grammar and choosing the proper words is important. Okay, so here I'm not going to talk about this in details because I'm not the because these are basically the things that is commonly occur when a novice writer began their works. So please avoid common errors. Okay, avoiding how to avoid common errors in grammar and how to use words is practically things that you need to done, practically something that you use or something that you do in order to have a proper and sound introduction. Okay. Okay, so there not all. So please keep in mind that the thing that is given here is not only works on your, it's not only apply for your paper, but also when you work on your presentation. Okay, later on, the thing that's covered here is also applies there. Okay, it is not so these not only apply especially in the in terms of paper writing, but also on the slideshow production. Okay, if you're going to present something in slideshow and you have typos, for example, it will kind of bother people if the typo is directly connected to the topic that you want to explain. But if it's only an auxiliary, or if it's a complementary, or if it's some kind of additional thing that is not going to hinder the continuation of your talk, then sometimes it will be forgotten. Okay, it will be you have an excuse to forget about it. Okay, so they don't bother with it. But if it's something that is related to the main talk itself, and you have the typos that you're not modified, that you're not correct before, then people will have confusion in them. Okay, people will not understand the thing that you present. Okay, so please keep in mind that the recipe here, or the thing that is addressed here, is not only applicable in your paper writing, but also in your PowerPoint production. Okay, the first one is contractions. Okay, so for example, the way you simplify a certain word into a certain shortening of word. There are some rules for that. Okay, there are some rules from that. For example, given here is for rank in the military. For example, lieutenant can be abbreviated as lit, period, or certain company. Okay, for example, Microsoft Ltd. Okay, it is actually Microsoft Limited, etc., and so on. And common contraction could be found, for example, for writing I am into I am, etc., and so on. So these are the common contraction that is applicable, that is okay for you to follow them. Okay. However, if you lost the apostrophe, okay, so for example, if you write I am become I'm, and you lost the apostrophe, then it will be wrong. Okay, then it will be wrong. If you write it on a paper, sometimes it's kind of bothered the reviewer, or it's kind of bothered the reader about this mistake. Okay, so please keep in mind that you need to have an apostrophe before am, so that it will have the same meaning of I am in the longer, or in the original form. Okay. Okay, and then the next thing after contraction is the split infinity, and then split infinitive and also contraction are things or errors that few even notice. Okay, few even notice, but there are errors that distract. Okay, missing intro, missing intro, comma, faulty parallelism, and unclear pronoun reference. And also there are errors that disturb readers and disturb viewer when watching a certain presentation. The most important aspect of grammar in understanding what a sentence is. These are the common mistakes that a novice writer or students have, because what they write is not a proper sentence, but what they actually write is a fragment. So fragment is basically a composition of word that doesn't have an objective subject and verb. Okay, there are no obvious verb. There are no obvious verb, but what only exists there is only adverb and a certain verb, or adjective and a certain verb. Okay, but a sentence, okay, a good sentence needs to have a subject, predicate, and a complementary phrases that tells the details on the action of what people doing. Okay, so sentence is a group of verbs is subject and verb that express a complete thought, while fragment is a group of words that either is missing a subject or missing a verb or does not express a complete thought. And the third one is a run-on. A run-on is two or more independent clauses that are not joined properly. For instance, a common mistake is to have a comma between the clauses. So these clauses doesn't have a definitive subject, for example, but you make them connected, however, using a comma. While the correct one is probably to join them with a certain word that basically connects the two ideas perfectly. For example, if you're using or and those kind of words, then the two clauses will be the union of the two clauses will be meaningful. Okay, so these are these are an example of what a runoff is, and then what a good a sentence is, and a sentence and a fragment. So first one, okay, rubidium has no major uses. However, it is more common in earth than zinc, copper, and nickel. So even though there is a certain subject here, which is the rubidium, but the connection, okay, but the connection between rubidium has no major uses, and rubidium is more common in the earth than zinc, copper, and nickel is not properly addressed. Okay, here the choice of word, which is however, is not correct based on this lecture notes. So here in the second example, although carbon dioxide occur naturally, man dramatically increased its concentration this past century is an example of a perfect sentence, because it talks about carbon dioxide, and the connection between this phrase with the second one is that carbon dioxide occurs naturally, but carbon dioxide can also produce anthropogenically in the past century. Okay, and then in the last example, we have a combination of a good sentence, but in the last part is going to be a fragment. Okay, so in this example, it is clear that several systems can detect plastic explosive, Okay, several systems can detect plastic exertion is already a full sentence, a good full sentence. However, the next one is not a good sentence. It becomes a fragment because it is written as, for example, thermoneutron activation system, nitrogen sniffer system, and enhanced X-ray system. These are not good sentences. Okay, this is an example of a fragment. So in order for us to improve this, okay, we need to combine the last fragment into the first sentence over here. So, for example, several systems, and then we can use parentheses, thermoneutron activation system, nitrogen sniffer system, and enhanced X-ray system can detect plastic explosive, or we can replace the order plastic explosive is detectable using several systems, or any approaches that is still suitable to make this sentence and fragment combination a little bit more logical. So here is the alternative. Okay, one alternative that we can do to improve the original sentence or the original format of this example. So although rubidium has no major issues, it is more common in the earth than zinc, copper, and nickel. So instead of rubidium has no major uses, however, it is more common in the earth than zinc, copper, and nickel. So to improve this one, okay, we can change the sentence or the proposed sentence as this one by replacing, however, with adding although and it is into the sentence. And for the third example, instead of writing rubidium has no major uses, this metal, however, is more common in the earth than zinc, copper, and nickel. Oh, sorry. Okay, we can write it as several systems can detect plastic explosive. Examples include thermoneutron activation system, nitrogen sniffer system, and enhanced X-ray system. So by adding example include, we basically add a subject into the second phrase, a fragment of phrases. Okay. Note that there are several. Okay. Another alternative. Okay. Another alternative is that we may kept the however in the first sentence, but instead of using a comma, we are using a semicolon. Okay. So rubidium has no major uses, semicolon. However, comma, it is more common in the earth than zinc, comma, copper, comma, or nickel. So in the original format, we use double comma, but now we use semicolon. And then rubidium, we can also write like this one. So rubidium has no major uses, but so instead of however, but it is more common in the earth than zinc, copper, and nickel. Or the fourth alternative is to write rubidium has no major uses, period. And then we make another sentence. This metal, which refers to rubidium, however, is more common in the earth than zinc, copper, and nickel. Okay, so there are ways. Okay, there are ways to improve a certain sentence into a good sentence. Okay. So there are no only one method, but we have many alternative or many ways to explain things into a proper order. Okay, more examples are given here in the lecture notes. Okay, and I think there are 65 or 69 slides that covers many things about common mistakes that a novice reader have. So I'm going to leave this for you to look by yourself and study it independently. Okay, so that you have time to have more time to working on your introduction instead of just listen to my explanation on this, because it's basically already self-explanatory. You just need to follow them carefully with and please, you already have the experience on writing a certain paper or a certain essay. Okay, so I think in high school or even in junior school or in elementary school, you have the experience to write an essay in English. Please remember that experience. Please remember when you write, when you have that experience. But now you're going to write not only an essay, but a short paper. Okay, a short paper of a certain scientific topic, and you're going to develop the paper from introduction part, and then followed by the method, and then followed by the result or preliminary result, and then followed by the analysis and conclusion. Okay, and also the references. Okay, so we're going to make a first step, okay, a first step or a first experience on how to write a scientific paper. Okay, a scientific paper that we commonly use in physics study program for announcing or for promoting or for communicating the findings that we have from our research. Okay, so I'm going to leave this material for you in the EduNext so that you can follow and read them independently. Okay, at this moment, is there any question from the students? Okay, we have an hour to spend on. So I'm just going to end my lecture here. Okay, and so I'm going to stop the recording